Alright, hi ladies and gents, welcome to the video today. Apologies for the acoustics. I know this isn't my usual professional setup, but I am down at the beach at the moment in a little bungalow here. But I just had to get this video out today because I just saw on Twitter overnight people are losing it in the USA with this new policy that's coming out. So you've seen all these headlines, gas stoves to be banned in the USA in 2023. Gas stoves to be made illegal. 40 million gas stoves are going to be told by the Biden administration that they have to be taken out of their apartments, and now there's going to be a ban on new gas lines into apartments. It's already come into effect in certain places like New York and all this other stuff. So I thought, right, I've got to look into this. I'll spend an hour looking into it, otherwise my wife will say, come on, what are you doing working when we're on vacation? So I said, give me an hour, I've just got to look into this and update all of my subscribers here, because this is absolutely nuts. And it mainly applies to the USA, but you know how these things go. It starts in one place and then moves to another very quickly. So I've pulled up all the data for you just so you can understand what's going on. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, it's not quite what all of these news outlets are saying about, they're going to come in. These teams are going to come in and they're going to take your gas stove and they're going to strip it out. They're going to make it illegal and you can only use convection. Yeah, it's actually not quite, that's not quite the truth. Well, let me show you the data on this now. Okay, so Zero Hedge leads with this headline: power-crazed Biden administration may ban gas stoves. This just came out today. Gas stoves, which are used in about 40% of American homes and are loved for their easy and speedy adjustability, may be banned by the Biden administration over concerns about their production of indoor pollutants. This is a hidden hazard, U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commissioner told Bloomberg. Any option is on the table. Products that can't be made safe can be banned. Has Joe broken this to Jill yet? She's cooking on her gas stove here. Especially, I've been looking into the restaurant aspect as well. So 76%, as it says here, of restaurants use gas stoves, and there's a reason for that. Many restaurants say it's easier, it's more efficient, and that the flame, and it adds to the taste and all this other stuff. But you go pretty much everywhere and you will find gas stoves in, as it says here, 3/4 of restaurants. And a whopping 94% of restaurant owners who use gas say a ban would hurt their business. And this has all come out because of this letter that was co-signed by 18 other legislators, as well as Cory Brooke, I think it was Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders was the other guy. I'll just confirm that in a moment. But this is what has come out. The EPA and the WHO say gas stove emissions are implicated in a variety of maladies, from respiratory illness, cardiovascular problems to cancer. A study last month said 12% of childhood asthma is attributable to the stoves. Now, I've actually looked at this study and it's not quite what it says. There's always an agenda to a lot of these studies. It reminds me of when the WHO came out and said that COVID had a 6.1% death rate, if you remember that, back in early 2020. It just tended to be a little bit off from that, shall we say. But I said earlier that it's not quite what it seems, and I've actually read this letter. I've got the letter here, and it's not quite what they're saying. A lot of the news agents, it's slow news week, isn't it? So they're saying it's going to be bad. And again, I'm not sure what this image is here. I'm just going to get that. I don't know what the relevance is to this gas thing. Get that off before my wife walks in, starts asking questions. So what they're looking to do, short of a ban, is to set new emission standards. So this is what I mentioned again: a New York City ban on natural gas lines in new buildings shorter than 7 stories will take effect later this year. A ban on such lines in taller buildings will start in 2027. And then we've got a couple of tweets here. When you lose power due to a blizzard or hurricane, having a gas stove can save your life. naturally the government wants to ban it. We'll skip on this one, you can read that if you like. And okay, my gas stove identifies as an electric stove. Okay, so your stove will be fine then. But one thing I just want to address, which none of these articles have addressed, is rather than focusing too much on this gas stove situation and everything they're saying with this letter and this report, which if you look at who funded the report, it's the same people all the time that fund these reports. I always want to look at the bigger picture. So what is the bigger picture here? Well, why do they want to ban gas stoves? What is this coming at the exact same time as? Well, it's this reduction in natural gas right across the board, right across the world, or at least in the West. This huge reduction in natural gas, these new policies in terms of banning companies from extracting new sources of natural gas, wanting to close down a percentage of natural gas power stations, wanting to get rid of coal-fired power stations, all these other things, and to develop all the renewables, which, again, I've said many times, I have nothing against renewables. Personally, I like renewables, but I would never 100% rely on them, and especially not for infrastructure and for a country. I definitely think renewables have their place, but as part of a more diversified portfolio of energy supplies is what I think would be the best way. Because look, I'll be straight, when I move into my new property soon, I will definitely have some sort of renewables there. I'll probably have hydroelectric as well, because it's not expensive or overly complex to set up. I've got a river there, so I'll get free electricity from that. I'd be foolish not to. But would I ever take out my gas stoves and take out my wood burners and things like that, and just rely on my solar panels or something like that? Absolutely no way. Look at what's been happening lately with these blizzards and these storms and more erratic weather patterns that we're seeing. And like the joke I told you the other week, where my friend, got him to finally get a wood stove and get all of his, wood stocked up and all that. And then he got snowed out and, he's under 5 foot of snow and he couldn't even get out to get his wood. But let's go over to the next article here. So here was the letter that was written. And again, it's not quite as the media is saying, which is that, they just want to ban all of them and remove them and turn off all the gas lines, etc. It's not quite like that. They're basically saying that there's more than 40 million homes that use a gas stove. But here's where I just don't buy it, because I know a little bit about gas stoves, and also in the UK, boilers. We use boilers basically for heating up water. We have a radiator system to heat a home. We use it, gas stoves like other people in the kitchen. We use it for heating hot water, for showering and things like that. And with my old company owning so many properties, I had to have all of these inspections every year. They call it a gas safety inspection. So I made it my job to understand all about that, so that I never had any problems, and that tenants never had issues, and that all the appliances were safe. So what they're trying to say here about the nitrogen oxide, NO2, carbon monoxide, and fine particulate matter, yes, there is that in gas. There is. But is it to this extent that they're saying that, it's a huge risk and our kids are going to die and they're all getting asthma and all this? No, I just don't think so at all. As long as they've got adequate ventilation on, say, a gas stove, or you've got a cooker hood, it is absolutely fine. And with a self-contained boiler type of system, then again, as long as you get a check every year, it's absolutely fine. So this is just nonsense, I think. And of course, they always use the kids, don't they? This is, known to exacerbate asthma, it's causing asthma in all these kids. And then they bring in the race and related things as well. It only affects this sort of community and we need to stop it. So personally, I'm just not buying it. I think there is some legitimacy to what they're saying, but I just think, again, look who's put out the report, look who's funded it, and you can see the paper trail or the money trail all the way back to why they're doing it. It's all part of this big interconnected plot to get rid of all of the fossil-based fuels and coal-fired power stations, natural gas, power stations, get rid of oil, and just, basically destroy the living standards in the West, which is what it's doing. Unfortunately, the average person, and again, I'm not talking about you guys as my subscribers, because if you watch this channel, you're also able to see ahead quite well, but the average person just cannot see ahead very well. And so they hear all these things right now, but they don't think, hold on, if I get rid of all the gas stoves, if we ban gas, if we ban all oil, if we ban all coal, are we actually going to have enough electricity generation from renewables? What if there's a massive storm? What if the wind's not blowing? What if there's no solar? Are we actually going to have enough energy, enough electricity? But of course, this isn't what is actually happening. Everyone's just going, the general public is just going along with everything, the destruction of energy output right now, without realizing that energy just doesn't, get created out of the ether, although we know that Nikola Tesla did create something like that before all of his patents got confiscated, but that's a story for another day. But we have had some pushback then, so the AGA, which is the American Gas Association, is pushing back on this after news that US federal regulators may ban gas stoves over their potential risk to human health, stating the removal of the appliance is reckless and a misguided agenda. So this was one policy put forward, that all stoves should be removed from households by 2024 or 2025, which would obviously be absolutely ridiculous, but there it is. They also said it will help with reducing global warming. The report said the federal agency plans to take action to address the indoor pollution caused by stoves. On Tuesday, the agency slammed the comments, calling the finding baseless allegations and pointing how gas reduced carbon emissions from the power sector by pushing out more polluting coal. Any efforts to ban highly efficient natural gas stoves should raise alarm bells for the 187 million Americans who depend on this essential fuel every day, the AGA said. And of course, they're going to use a statistic like this. So 500,000 gas-powered cars is the equivalent of what this is causing. We could take 500,000 gas-powered cars off the road. And if you want to read in a little more depth on this, there's a good article here on Energy in Depth. You can see the URL here. This is quite a good article, and that they sort of counter a lot of the information that was put out. And their conclusion is that the report is skewed to fit an electrification movement that promises to deliver little benefit at an enormous cost. Now, the other thing you got to think about is, remember how we've been tracking all of these business closures? Well, I just did some research, a couple of searches in the USA, and there are so many, regional articles like this that just shows you all of these restaurants and eateries that have been closing. They don't have a sort of nationwide one though, which is interesting, but they're regional. They're sort of keeping it all separate. You got all of these different restaurants that are just closing all over the place. A stunning number of restaurants closed in 2022. Here's the list. Again, you can look at these articles for your own region and just see how many. I mean, it's staggering. And of course, this isn't just isolated to the USA. This is also in the UK, and it's also in mainland Europe as well. We mentioned the baguettes emergency in France and how many restaurants are collapsing there, and in Germany and Denmark and the Netherlands and all these other European countries. The restaurants and other things just can't afford to keep going due to the energy costs. And we had this article out of the BBC for the UK. Energy bill help for firms expected to be halved. And one of the main issues at the moment in the UK is that all of these businesses are, well, this is according to the FSB, the Federation of Small Businesses, that many of them simply cannot survive what's coming, and that many of them will collapse very shortly. So we also have this risk as well. Again, this is not just the USA. This whole energy agenda is being pushed through everywhere at the moment, and there just doesn't seem to be enough pushback. The only pushback that I'm seeing is where there is profit at stake. So like the AGA is pushing back and saying, hold on, what are you talking about here? Or some of the big energy companies are pushing back against how they can't drill for new energy, how they can't open up new gas lines, and how they're not able to get good financing. Not that they necessarily need a lot of loans and things. But they said this is another thing, because their ESG score isn't high enough. They're not able to get loans and rates at a good price, and some of them are saying that they're being threatened with, they might not have banking unless they improve their ESG score. So mark my words, this is a coordinated effort. Every time you see something like this, don't take it in isolations like the media companies are doing and say, oh, look at this is a gas stove ban. Why do they want to, ban gas stoves? You've got to see the bigger picture and see that this is all around the destruction of energy. All right, that's all for today then. Take care, God bless, I'll see you very soon.